in the room work for an NGO? And of those with their hands up, how many of you have the responsibility of raising funds or fostering partnerships for your organization? Wonderful. First, I want to thank all of my colleagues for being here. The work being done in this room is just so phenomenal, and it gives me so much hope for the promise of the future that we're all working together, kind of in a very similar fashion to solve some very difficult issues in our society. I'm thankful for this opportunity to get together and discuss what's new in the world of philanthropy. I'm excited to explore the ways grantors, donors, corporate foundations can work together to make an impact that will change the lives of communities around the world. I truly believe that we're entering a new era of what I call social good, changing the ways that we do business and approaching funding by re-examining what is sustainable while pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible. Let me begin by telling you a bit about myself. My name is Rita, and I'm the Community Investment Program Manager for John Hancock. We're a life insurance company based in Boston, Massachusetts. And in that role, I'm involved in executing our philanthropic strategy. I evaluate our grants that we receive. I determine which projects align with our values and where we allocate our funding and how we steward a grant towards impact. But I was also working for an NGO 5 years ago in the same role you guys are in now, so I very understand both sides of the table. Today I'd like to share some of the changes we've made to our funding program, highlight organizations we've partnered with to solve some of Boston's most challenging issues, and offer some tips that everyone can incorporate into their own approaches to philanthropic practices going forward. So a lot of changes are underway at John Hancock, and perhaps that was an understatement because we recently took our 156-year-old business model and philanthropic model and innovated it in favor of what I like to call a more robust impact. We're taking a shared value approach to evolve our business model and life insurance offering. Recently, last week, we announced a departure from traditional life insurance and now only offer what we call Vitality, an engaging tech-enabled wellness platform that rewards customers for everyday steps they take to live longer, healthier lives. Using that same shared value lens, we took a fresh look at our corporate responsibility program and asked ourselves a couple of key questions. How can we help more people? Individuals who perhaps aren't in a possible position to be a John Hancock customer, but still aspire to achieve the same potential as some of our traditional customers do, and solve problems along the way that will be truly transformational. We settled on the convergence of health and wealth as a meaningful intersection and began exploring things like motivation and behavior change, asking how we could help reshape the medical, community, and financial systems people exist in. That led us to our two philanthropic pillars, health promotion and financial inclusion. By health promotion, we will focus on access to education and opportunities for physical activity and healthy eating programs over treatments and cures. We will also place emphasis on the social determinants of health, like access to food, safe and affordable housing, and employment in low-income areas, and their inextricable link to health and income equality. We identified areas where people are being held back by systems that are outside of their control, and where John Hancock and our partners could potentially make an impact together. On the other side of the same coin, financial inclusion is about equity and access, helping people understand what behaviors they need to take on to become self-motivated and engage actively in building assets compared to traditional financial literacy. The idea is that you can teach people how to open a bank account and build their credit, but if they're already years behind their peers when it comes to wealth attainment, they're always going to be a few steps behind. So John Hancock is looking at innovative models of workforce development and focusing on building financial resilience, giving people the tools they need to continue to build equity and financial access, despite what might be going on around them, and teaching them to be agile enough to plug into what the next big industry is going to be. This insight led us to our new goal for community investments at John Hancock. We are seeking healthier, more equitable communities. We fought to have the word equity highlighted in that phrase because we believe our program should create equal access and opportunity for everyone, arming individuals with the motivation and resources they need to make drastic and sustainable changes in their lives. We knew that we would need a new strategy to achieve this goal, so we spoke candidly and honestly with our partners about funding and realized that we wanted to track meaningful change and see it impact individual communities. We realized we needed to look at how we were funding beyond dollars. We started wondering what else we as John Hancock could do differently and should do differently. Realizing that in order to truly lean into these intractable issues and create meaningful and sustained change, we decided to refocus our approach from being program funders to problem solvers. Could John Hancock lend its other corporate assets, like our public policy platforms, Could we speak to Congress and the Senate about healthier food options for low-income communities? Could we also advocate for different rules around retirement fund savings so that systems would be more equitable for other people? Could we use our own employee engagement as a value add and a voice? This kicked off a series of honest conversations, what I called courageous conversations, with our philanthropic partners, where instead of coming to pitch us a program, we'd focus on collaborating toward a solution to the issues and groups they served together. We call this approach impactful funding. If a program isn't the right fit, we work together to brainstorm a new way to attack a certain problem and iterate along the way. Our partners were encouraged to share with us data points of what was successful, but also data points that showed what wasn't working too well and where they were falling short, so we can help fill that gap and think of innovative ideas to address a specific issue together. In this sense, John Hancock is showing up in a very different way than other corporate partners, in a different way than nonprofits have traditionally seen from corporate funders. Many times, funders will say, this is our platform, we focus on X, Y, Z, and we're putting this much money out there to solve the issue, which is great. But at the end of the day, that's just philanthropy and checking a corporate box, not the community need necessarily. We want to move the needle on systems, intractable issues that have frankly gone on for far too long without substantive change. Oftentimes, the innovation we need begins with how we're having those initial conversations. And once we made the jump to define ourselves as change agents, not just check writers, we saw a huge shift in the quality of our partnerships. With all these changes underway, we evaluated our partner portfolio and rediscovered existing partners that we could dive deeper with. We asked ourselves, who are we already working with that's poised to do meaningful work in these two areas we care most about? Here are two examples of programs that reflect our redefined values and focus. Boston Medical Center is a longtime member of our marquee Boston Marathon nonprofit program. BMC has recently launched its Vision 2030, a bold long-term goal to make Boston the healthiest urban population in the world. We sat with everyone from their Boston BMC's medical director of community health to their doctors and patients and asked what they thought the problem was based on what they were hearing from patients and community members who were returning there most frequently. When needs transcend the scope of traditional medicine, BMC is achieving health by going beyond hospital walls and threading BMC's care through essential services and programs in the community. They are leading and incorporating programs that are innovative for hospitals. It seems like an easy solution, but for a hospital to build affordable housing or have the nation's first preventative food pantry to address this type of issue is truly innovative. And so we took the relationship we already had with them via the Boston Marathon and moved it over to a funding partnership that would lead to more meaningful interactions and help them really achieve their mission. By having the conversation differently, we realized that BMC wanted to do innovative work right in our own backyard, and it ties back to our own values too. Empath, and I'm going to spell it because it's a great organization, EMPATH, is a partner that was in our portfolio for many, many years, and only recently learned that they created a new way to think about poverty and combat it. In today's economy, poverty demands a fresh response. To help low-income families succeed, Empath created a new roadmap to upward economic mobility. The approach focuses on the individual's long-term goals. It guides each person in the areas of health, family life, career, finances, and education, and it builds skills that sustain results. Their definition of innovation was rooted in the fundamental practice of putting the individual at the center of the change. Leaning into the same societal issue and having a new conversation with a partner allowed for a new rediscovery of meaningful alignment. In today's pathway out of poverty is a journey that fewer than 1 in 4 people can ever expect to complete. Working together, we realized that we can take this emerging science and use it to design new ways to help people achieve upward economic mobility. We can transform human services delivery as well. We can move away from strategies for which the highest goal is stability and perhaps modest gains, and instead design interventions that create pathways to the middle class and beyond. So what's the best path forward for practitioners in the private and public sectors that would like to partner with a corporation like John Hancock? I'm going to give you a couple of do's and don'ts, and again, this is my experience being at an NGO for 5 years and sitting across from people like me and some of my other colleagues that had to have these difficult meetings. So the first do is bring important takeaways and leave behinds. A lot of the slides I've seen today are really impactful, but really bring the content that's going to drive the conversation. Don't just leave stuff that's not going to kind of leave us thinking about what the problem really is you're trying to solve. Do show meaningful metrics, but don't be afraid to talk about what isn't working, as I said before. Be honest about where you're falling short or where the biggest impact can come from. Don't be inflexible. Let your ask be fluid. Maybe you'll discover something else that's worthy of funding. Don't underestimate the power of personal stories. They help humanize your mission. Don't hang your hat on a specific number or dollar amount. I know that's very, very hard. Different departments have different funding assets or programs that can help add value that you're not aware of, just like Melissa's donation program and underwriting. Do always have an informational meeting to get to know what the funding philosophy is. Be prepared to define what you deem innovative, knowing that many times the innovative solution is how you've been doing your work all along, just didn't tell anyone about it. Do feel empowered by your own expertise. You're delivering the programs and making the impact, so help us understand it. Do work to understand each other. Once you're in the grant cycle pipeline, you want to have a relationship with each other that's meaningful, so cultivate it ahead of time. In closing, don't be afraid to reframe the conversation around what problems you're trying to solve. As we enter this new era of social good, communication and understanding will be fundamental in creating lasting partnerships that will result in real transformational change. It's a shift we are proud of at John Hancock, and one we hope to see nonprofits and corporations alike adopt. By changing the way we're having these conversations, we can change the way we're giving, change the way we're giving back, and changing the lives in a way that stays true to your values and ours. Thank you.